Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Jay with J News, and this is the third stimulus check update for the third stimulus package for February 16th, 2021. In this video, I'll be discussing when the Fed will likely start to send $1,400 payments, who gets the $1,400, and when can it be garnished, and wrap up with why some people should file their 2020 taxes ASAP. I will also answer some of your comments and questions left on my previous videos. Before we get started, please subscribe to the channel and give this video a big thumbs up to help it get out to more viewers like yourself. Let's get to it. Third stimulus check update. Fed's likely to start sending $1,400 payments by late March. Tens of millions of Americans should expect $1,400 COVID-19 stimulus checks in their bank account by the end of March or early April, according to lawmakers and economic experts. The House Ways and Means Committee, chaired by Rep. Richard Neal of Massachusetts, concluded markups of President Joe Biden's $1.9 trillion relief package this past week without major changes, meaning the proposal will now work its way through other House committees before a potential vote next week. Democrats on Capitol Hill pushing the bill through the annual budget reconciliation process, which won't require Republican support, are hustling to complete a package by March 14th because that's when a $300 weekly bonus to unemployment insurance and other benefits from previous coronavirus aid plans to expire. CBS News reported over the weekend that Hunter Heyman, an analyst at Hite Capital Markets, said in a February 12th research note that the Senate will likely vote on the package by the beginning of March, where it will then land on Biden's desk in the White House. Once signed by Biden, the Treasury Department within a week or two will likely start cutting checks to Americans who already have their direct deposit information on file with their Internal Revenue Service. The last time federal government approved stimulus checks of $600 in December, people started receiving them in their bank accounts within a week. Paper checks or debit cards will follow over the next several weeks for those who don't have their banking information on file. Under a proposal from Neal's office, American adults earning up to $75,000 and couples making $150,000 will likely be eligible for the full $1,400 COVID-19 stimulus check that are part of the overall relief package. If approved by Congress and signed by Biden, the stimulus payments will phase out incrementally based on income, with individuals earning more than $100,000 and couples earning $200,000 receiving nothing. The proposal followed calls from conservative Democrat Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia and Republicans to limit full payments to those making less than $50,000 or $40,000. The caps proposed by Neal marked a win for progressives who argued the lower thresholds were out of touch with reality and at odds with disparate costs of living across the country. The most recent fine-tuning of bills comes after weeks of debate over how much to spend on pandemic aid and where to target the most assistance. Congress and the Trump administration previously spent about $4 trillion addressing the coronavirus and the economy, prompting Republicans to express concerns about the national debt. But Democrats, who control of both chambers of Congress and the White House, have agreed to go big, arguing that economic devastation, including record job loss, hunger, and child poverty, demand a robust, costly response. Another proposal from Neal's office working its way through House committees would see families receiving up to $3,600 per child under 6 and $3,000 for every child between 6 and 17 over the next year, starting in July. The payments would decrease for single parents earning more than $75,000 or couples earning more than $150,000 combined. Can my stimulus money be garnished for overdue child support? Yes. It's pretty much the only reason that your stimulus money can be garnished. Any other debts, such as back taxes, can't be reasons to garnish your check, said Banks. Will Social Security recipients receive a third stimulus check? Yes. This is for everyone who has earned income and filed taxes, and there's language in the bill to expand to non-citizen spouses who are U.S. residents. But that's not final. Third stimulus check. Why some people should file their taxes ASAP. With lawmakers negotiating another round of coronavirus relief aid, many Americans are eager to learn if and when they'll receive a third stimulus check. Aside from Congress's time frame for passing the legislation, there's another factor that could influence stimulus payments: your 2020 tax returns. The reason boils down to the confluence of tax filing season and the expectation that Congress will pass the next relief bill by mid-March. The IRS on Friday officially started accepting tax returns on February 12th, with the filing window closing on its customary date of April 15th. That effectively means the agency may start distributing stimulus checks in the middle of tax season, which could affect how much Americans get, especially households that lost income last year or who had a child in 2020. The IRS relies on each individual's most recent tax filing to determine their stimulus check payment. If a taxpayer doesn't file their 2020 tax return before Congress passes its next relief bill, the agency will likely rely on their 2019 tax return to calculate their stimulus check payment, and that 2019 return might not reflect income losses during last year's economic crisis or a new child, for example. I would suggest that people file as soon as possible, especially with 75% of taxpayers last year receiving a tax refund close to $3,000, said Lisa Green Lewis, a tax expert at TurboTax. We're hearing a lot of people say, I had a baby in 2020. How will the IRS know this? When they issued the previous stimulus payment, they didn't know that. Why filing taxes ASAP could get you more. Taxpayers should consider two issues: their income in 2019 versus 2020, and whether they had a child last year, noted Mark Jager, Director of Tax Development at TaxAct. Take a single worker who earned $90,000 in 2019 but lost her job during last year's massive layoff and ended up earning $45,000 in 2020. If she doesn't file her 2020 tax returns by the time Congress passes the next relief bill, the IRS would likely base her third stimulus check on her 2019 earnings. In that case, she would most likely receive less than $1,400 because the IRS would use her 2019 earnings of $90,000 to determine her payment. The exact amount would depend on the phase-out amount set by the legislation. But if she files a 2020 tax return as soon as possible, the IRS will record her most recent annual income as $45,000, qualifying her for the full $1,400 payment based on the income threshold now under discussion. The same situation could occur for people who welcomed a child into their family in 2020. If the IRS relies on their 2019 tax return, the agency won't be aware of the new family member. As a result, the claimant wouldn't get the proposed $1,400 payment for a dependent to which they're entitled. There could be a downside to filing early, particularly for people whose income rose in 2020 compared with 2019 and exceeded the income threshold. If that's the case, Jager said, you may want to wait until after the legislation is passed to file your taxes. Take a single taxpayer who earned $70,000 in 2019 but got a promotion and earned $90,000 in 2020, which is a $40,000 above the salary limit for the full stimulus payment. You are now in the threshold of phasing out, Jager said. You are better off waiting because the IRS will use your 2019 info to determine your third stimulus check. To be sure, the details of the third stimulus checks are still fluid, and the rules could end up differing from the two previous stimulus checks, noted Eric Bronnenkamp, head of tax at financial services firm Betterment. But he added, it's more likely that most income went down in 2020 and that filing sooner would then help them qualify for more money. Adjustments later? It's possible the IRS could create a way to reconcile stimulus payments later this year, Jager said. For instance, if your income fell in 2020 but you don't file your taxes before the next relief bill is passed, that could allow taxpayers to claim the additional funds in the summer rather than waiting until the next year's tax filing. The IRS is keeping an eye on the stimulus bill taking shape in Congress and building a number of contingencies based on any new legislation, said Ken Corbin, the new Chief Taxpayer Experience Officer at the IRS, in a Thursday conference call with reporters. We're thinking through what is that experience for the taxpayers who might be entitled for more. He added, if someone is able to file an accurate return sooner, then we encourage them to file that return as soon as they are able to. Stimulus checks and taxpayers who didn't receive their full stimulus payment in the first two rounds of checks may also want to file their 2020 tax return quickly. By doing so, they'll be able to claim their additional money on Forms 1040s through what the IRS calls a recovery rebate credit, or an adjustment between what you received from the IRS versus what you should have gotten, such as if your income decreased or you had a child in 2020. The IRS has published a recovery rebate credit worksheet to walk through whether you could receive extra funds. The amount can then be entered on line 30 on IRS Form 1040. People who receive the full amounts under the first two stimulus checks won't have to enter anything on their 2020 tax returns, the IRS's Corbin said. Anyone who's eligible for a stimulus check who didn't get one or didn't get a full amount may claim it on their 2020 tax returns, he noted. The credit will be paid as part of your refund. Up to 8 million households were entitled to payments but didn't get those due to processing delays and problems with their applications, a recent Treasury fact sheet estimated. If you didn't receive the first or second round of stimulus and were eligible under the income limits, you're allowed to take a credit against your 2020 taxes, said Marie Liu Kem, a CPA in Whitehall, Pennsylvania, and tax expert who blogs at www.speakingkingoftaxes.net. It's up to taxpayers and their accountants to determine how much. To claim your credit, fill out a recovery rebate credit form. Here's a link to the 2020 Form 1040, www.irs.gov/pub/irs-pdf/f1040.pdf. The rebate is claimed on line 30.